Hello YouTube viewers, welcome to this video. I'm Venkat and this is just me, an open source channel. Right, in this video I'm going to show you how to launch an EC2 instance from a command line using AWS CLI tool. So I've already shown you, I think it's video number 4, how to install AWS CLI using Python pip and how to configure it with your secret key and access key ID and the secret access key, right? So which AWS? I've got my AWS under .local bin. Okay, so what you need to create an AWS EC2 instance, so you need to have a key pair. So if you remember from my previous video, I've deleted the security group that we created. The key pair EBS volume got deleted automatically when we terminated the instances. So I've logged into my management console here. If I go to EC2 dashboard, you can see there are no instances, no key pairs, and one default security group and no volumes attached. So the first step is to create a key pair, and then we need to create a security group. We need to add a rule for port 22 to access, and then we can launch the EC2 instance. We also need to know the AMI ID from which we are going to launch our instance. Okay, so let's create the key pair first. So I'm going to search in the AWS documentation, AWS create key pair. Create, display, and delete Amazon EC2 key pair. Okay, so the command is this one. Let's run that command. So before that, let me show you if there are any existing key pairs. There are no key pairs at the moment. AWS EC2 describe key pairs. Okay, so as you can see, there are no key pairs at the moment. Let's go ahead and create one. AWS EC2 create key pair minus minus key name. Let's call it first key pair July 2019 minus minus query key material. So it's enough to just run this command AWS EC2 create key pair. I'm sorry, key dash pair. Okay, so it's enough to run just this command AWS EC2 create key pair minus key name. That's all. It's going to spit out the key pair along with other information. But if you just want the content of the key pair, you need to pass the query option minus minus query. So we are interested in just the key material, and then minus minus output is a text format, and we are going to redirect that to a .pem file. First key pair July 2019.pem. Okay, I missed a code somewhere. First key pair minus minus output key material. Yep, I missed a code here. Okay, so that's all needed. Okay, so that's done. Let's go ahead and do AWS EC2 describe key pairs. Cool, so we have created our key pair, first key pair. That's the key name, that's the key fingerprint. If I go to management console and click on key pairs, cool, so we have created our first key pair from the command line using AWS CLI. Okay, the next step is to create a security group. Let's search Amazon documentation for that. AWS CLI create security group. Create security group. So the documentation says, let's go straight to the example and copy that. So before that, let's see what security group we have got. We've got just one security group, which is the default security group, AWS EC2 describe security groups. So as you can see here, we've got just one security group. The group name is called default. Okay, let's go ahead and create another security group. AWS EC2 create security group, and we have to give a group name minus minus group name is okay. But before that, we also need the VPC ID. So which VPC we are going to create that security group in. So for that, let's grab the VPC ID. AWS EC2 describe VPCs. Okay, so we've got just one VPC and the VPC ID is this one. Let's copy that. Now we can create the security group. AWS EC2 create security group minus minus group name. Let's call it first security group. Let's give it a description. First security group minus minus VPC ID is the one that we copied. Okay, so that's created and that's the security group ID. Let's go and see in the console. But before that, let's verify it from the command line. AWS EC2 describe security groups. Okay, now you see this is the default security group here and the security group that we've created first dash SG. So this is a plain simple security group which doesn't have any rules attached to it. So if we go to security groups under network and security, so that's the security group that we just created. And if you look at the inbound, it's empty. There are no inbound and by default all traffic is allowed. So we didn't have any rules. So we need to add rules to the security group. Okay, so how to do that? Let's again go to AWS documentation, AWS CLI authorize security group ingress. That's the command. Let's go and check one of the examples. Authorize security group ingress and the group ID of the security group, protocol, CIDR, etc. Okay, so first let's grab the security group ID, which is here. Or if you want, you can copy it from the command line. AWS EC2 describe security groups. My first security group and the security group ID is this one. Let's copy that. Okay, AWS EC2. So what we are doing here is adding a rule to our empty security group. AWS EC2 authorize security group ingress minus minus group ID is the one that we just copied. Minus minus protocol is TCP. Minus minus port is 22. We need to allow SSH access, and that too only from my IP address. Minus minus CIDR is there's an easy way to find your public IP address. Amazon has got an URL for that. Check ip.amazonaws.com. So that's my public IP address. Copy that and paste it. I didn't actually copy it. Close that one and Control C. Copied and pasted, and we need to give that in the CIDR notation, which is 32. So I need to allow access to port 22 and only from that particular IP address. Okay, so that's done. And if I do describe security groups now, where is my first security group? It's here, and we've got one rule 22, and that's the CIDR of my public IP address. So that's allowed. And if I go to security groups now and refresh, and here you see we've added a rule to our security group. Okay, cool. So we've created a key pair, we've created a security group. We need to find out the AMI ID from which we are going to launch. So let's do that. Let's also find the documentation to create an EC2 instance. AWS CLI EC2 instance, launch, list, and terminate. Okay, so that's the command. Okay, so let me open up an editor. What we need is image ID. Okay, AMI ID is going to be For that, let's try and launch an instance. We are not actually launching an instance. We will just try and launch an instance to see what AMI ID. So I'm interested in this AMI. So the AMI ID is this one. AMI ID. Copy that. Let me paste that here. Okay. What else we need? We need the AMI ID. We need the security group ID, which will be describe security groups. And my security group ID is this one, the one that we created. Security group ID is that one. Security group ID, and we also need the subnet ID. So all these information you can go here and you can find out. Let's go to EC2, go to security groups, and that one here. So that's the security group ID. And if you want subnet, go to services and search for VPC. Go to VPC and go to your VPCs. So that's the VPC ID. And if you go to subnet, because I'm in the EU West 2 region, London, we have 3 availability zones, and by default, you will have a public subnet created for you in each of the availability zone. So these are the different subnet IDs. Let's say I want to create this EC2 instance in EU West 2A. So I'm going to copy that. So that's going to be my subnet ID. Copy and paste it. So that's my subnet ID. And you can also check your subnet ID from the command line if you want. AWS EC2 describe subnets. Okay, so we have 3 subnets here. EU West 2A is here, and the subnet ID is here. We just copied that. So anything you do it from the management console, you can also find the information from the AWS CLI tool as well. So we need AMI ID, we need the security group ID, we need the subnet ID. I think that's all we need. Okay, let's go ahead and launch the EC2 instance. AWS EC2 describe instances. Okay, so you see one instance, but that's in the terminated state. If you look at the state, it's terminated. Here, if you go to instances, okay, go back to EC2 instances. We have one instance which is in the terminated state, so that's the output of that describe instance command. Okay, let's go ahead and create the EC2 instance. Go back to the page. AWS EC2 run instances is the command. Run instances minus minus image ID, which is here. So this is the AMI image ID. I'm going to launch my EC2 instance from this image. Control C, paste that. Right, the next option is count, minus minus count. How many instances do you want to launch? One instance type, minus minus instance. Type is T2 micro, minus minus key. Name is first key pair July 2019. I think that's my key pair name. Let's check that. First dash key pair dash July dash 2019. Yeah, so that's the key pair name. And then the security group IDs, minus minus security group IDs. My security group is this one. Copy that, paste it. And finally, the subnet ID, minus minus subnet ID is this one. Copy, paste. That's all it's needed. But there are lots and lots of options that you can For example, we haven't defined any key value pair. I think it's a separate step, AWS EC2 create key tags or something, and then you can attach that to a particular instance. But let's go with a simple example here. Okay, I'm going to press enter. Okay, so that's the output of the resource it's going to deploy or it's going to launch. Okay, let's go back to our management console and see instances. Cool. So that's the instance and it's in the pending state. If I select that instance, you can see all the details here. We have the public IP address, which is this one. Let's copy that public IP address. Okay, so it's pending. Status check is initializing. Let's wait for a couple more minutes. All right, the EC2 instance is ready now. It has passed all the status checks. I also wanted to show you another option that you can pass to describe instances command. So what we did was AWS EC2 describe instances. That's going to show you lots and lots of information about the instances. But if you want to query a particular field, for example, just the instance ID, pass minus minus query option, and then reservations.instances.instance ID. And there are two instances, and those are the instance ID of the instances. Okay, let me close this editor, and I'm going to try and log into this instance now. So the public IP address is 35.176.133.223, copied, and SSH minus I first. Okay, ls minus L. There you go. So we need to change the mode of that file. chmod 400 first key pair July 2019. Okay, SSH minus I, and then EC2 dash user at, that's the IP address. Yep, that looks about right. Okay, cool. So we are logged into our virtual machine EC2 instance. That's it. Cool. Let's go ahead and delete all the resources we just created. EC2 dashboard, you can see there's one running instance, one EBS volume for that instance, one key pair, and two security groups. So one we created, and there was a default security group as well. Let's go ahead and delete those things. AWS EC2 delete key pair minus minus key, name is first key pair July 2019. Okay, that's done. AWS EC2 describe key pairs. Cool, there's no key pair. We've just deleted that. We need to delete the subnet ID now, sorry, the security group. So we need to know the security group ID for that. AWS EC2 describes security groups, and first security group, and the ID is this one. Copy that. AWS EC2 delete security group minus minus group ID is that one. When calling delete operation resource has a dependent object. Okay, so I think first we need to delete the instance before we can delete the security group. That makes sense. Okay, AWS EC2 terminate instances minus minus instance ID is instance ID is this one, I guess. Let's see. Okay, current state. No, I think it's the other one. So find out which instance you want to terminate. Copy the instance ID. AWS EC2 terminate instances minus minus instance ID is that one. Okay, so name, shutting down, running, that's all looking good. Now let's try to delete the security group. AWS EC2 delete security group. Now, I think it's still in the process of terminating the AWS instance. Okay, let's try and delete that. So once your delete security group ID. Okay, let's go to security groups. That's the one we want to delete. Go back to instances. Instance is terminated. So now we should be able to delete it. Yep, so that's gone. So since our security group was attached to an instance, we were not able to delete the security group. So first you need to terminate your instance, and after that you will be able to delete your security group. Okay, go back to EC2 dashboard. So now everything is gone. So now we are back to where we were at the beginning of this video. So no instances, no key pairs, no volumes, just one security group, which is a default security group. Okay, I hope you enjoyed this video. I think that's all I wanted to show you in this video. It's really cool. If you're used to command line, it gives lots of freedom. You can script it. Yeah, that's it. Hope you enjoyed it. If you liked it, please share it with your friends, and don't forget to subscribe to my channel. I will see you all in my next video. Bye bye.